Hi everyone, it's Misty. Welcome back to another card video. I have a fun card to share with you today. This is a window card that can easily be turned into a shaker card. Now this die is from Simon Says Stamp. It's called the Wrought Iron Wide Border, and it's from the Diecember release last month, but it's such a beautiful die, and I just hadn't had time to make a video on this card yet. But I had somebody ask me about it, so I thought it was a good time to go ahead and get a video up. So I'm using the Stick It adhesive for on my black cardstock. This is going to make it so much easier to cut this die out and not have to worry about putting glue all over the back of my die cut. It's really sticky though, so I'm going slow here because it kept wanting to stick to the contact paper and I didn't want it to stick to that side, so I just went really slow and it was perfect. So I'm going to cut off the excess here. And then I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. Now the first time I ran it through, I took out my metal plate because it had that extra layer and I thought that it didn't need it, and I thought it might be too thick, but it wasn't. It wasn't too thick. It didn't cut out very good. The paper was kind of ripping on the back, and with it being such an intricate die, I really didn't want to tear my cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead in a second here, and I'm just going to put my metal plate back in my die cutting machine and run it through one more time. I love how easy this is to do. It just kind of, there's obviously grooves in the paper now, so it just falls right into place. It's really nice. But anyway, so it was much easier to punch all the little pieces out now. The Stick It paper I'm using is from Ken Oliver, and I think everybody should have this Stick It adhesive. It's great for intricate dies. It makes it so much easier to put those dies on your projects instead of trying to put glue on the back of that and tiny little spaces. All you have to do is pull the contact sheet off the back and stick it down. It's really great adhesive. Now the acetate I'm using is from Hero Arts, and it comes in a 5 by 6 inch sheet. So I'm gonna have to trim that down here in a bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and line up how I'm just trying to figure out how I want this to look. Now originally I was not going to put a space between the this black cardstock here and the die, but I think it just gave it a little bit more interest, so I'm going to end up putting a little bit of space between the die cut piece and the rest of the black cardstock. But if you wanted to make this a shaker card, you probably wouldn't want that little separation there, because then you'd be able to see your craft foam. I've cut the acetate down to size, and now I'm just going to use Scor-Tape to attach the cardstock to the acetate. And the great thing about it being see-through is you can make sure it's lined up perfectly. And with this card, you'll see in a second here, I'm going to make like a template to use. Just because with the Scor-Tape, there's no wiggle room. I just wanted to make sure that I got things lined up just perfectly. So this little template here might be unnecessary, but it was working for me at the time, so I went with it. You can certainly, eyeball it and I'm sure get it to look the same way. But I'm a little OCD sometimes with my cards. I want it to be how I want it. So see that little tick mark right below the bottom left of the cardstock? That's an 1/8 of an inch gap, and that's what I want it to be on both the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to draw a line. I want it to be very visual. I don't want any mistakes, no guessing. But if you were going to turn this into a shaker card, you would just eliminate this whole step here. And I meant to say this at the beginning of the video, but I just want to apologize if it seems like my video is jumping around a bit. I had to be right over the top of things sometimes, and so my head was in a lot of these shots. And so I did the best I could, cutting out as much of my head as I could. But it's still in there a few times, and yeah, so I apologize for that. Usually I've always had a hard time with keeping my head out of the shot, but this one was particularly rough. All right, as you can see, that backing came off the die really easy. And now I'm just going to continue to do my little template here. Now, if you wanted to turn this into a shaker card, I think there's a couple ways you can do it. first eliminate that space there. That would take away a lot of problems of having to try to seal up the top in that thin little die area. So take away the 2 gaps. You could either do it with, if you can get craft foam cut that thin, for the left and right side of the die is really thin. So that's the part I'm concerned about. So you can either get craft foam cut that thin or foam tape. Foam tape is probably would be the best way to go because I've cut it really thin. So I think that would work if you cut craft foam and hit it behind the left and right side there. Otherwise, you can use a fuse tool if you have a fuse tool. I've done that before. You don't need dimension to have your shaker bits shake. They'll still shake even without the added dimension. Another way might be Scor-Tape. They make Scor-Tape that's 1/8 of an inch, so it's really thin. It's still wider than the outline of the die, but what I would do is I would just put it on the back of the die, let it hang over, and then cut the excess off. So those are 4 ways you might be able to turn this into a shaker card. Hopefully I'll have time to play around with this again because I would love to try some of those ideas out. I would say the fuse tool and the foam tape would be the easiest way to do it. If anybody else has any ideas of how to turn this into a shaker card, I would love to hear it in the comments below. I know there's several different ways to make shaker cards, but I've never tried one with a die this thin on the side, so. Ooh. All right, hopefully I can try that out. All right, I'm just going to add some black craft foam to the back of this, to the top and the bottom. I like how I was holding it over the alcohol inked background, and I liked it kind of looked like it had a drop shadow when it was raised up a little bit because that die is so pretty. So decided to add some craft foam. Now those alcohol inked backgrounds, I think those are from the first time I ever tried alcohol inks, and they've just been sitting in a drawer, so I have a stack of them. I was excited to use them. I also made a gray and purple card just like this, which hopefully you'll be able to see in the top left-hand corner right now. I'll also put a picture of it at the end of this, but I can't decide which one I like better. I'd love to hear which one you guys like, either the black and pink or purple and gray. Here's about where I realized that I wish I would have cut that alcohol inked piece a little bit wider because it just barely covered the opening here. I just didn't know I was going to pop it up on craft foam when I cut it, so I mean it covered the whole window there, but it was kind of close. So I just cut myself a card base. I didn't cut it, I scored my card base there, sorry. And now I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of my little section here. I'm using the Tombow Mono liquid adhesive, and I really like this glue. There's so many good glues out there right now. I don't know why I feel like I have to have them all. Now, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but when I use alcohol inks, they always rub off on my hands when I'm trying to make a card. And usually it's on the white part of the card, or it's part of the card that I want to keep white, always ends up with a smear on it. And I don't know if it's just me or that's just the way it is. But even when I cut it, the plastic protector on my cutter had pink all over it too. Do you guys have that problem, or is it just me? It's probably just me. If anything could go cattywampus, it's going to be with me, always. I've just gotten used to it. But that's okay. I still consider the glass half full. All right, and this is how this is going to look. It looks really cool, that window there. I love it. I think it looks really pretty. Now, here was my other option for a sentiment. I really liked both of these, so I had a hard time deciding. So I figured I would leave this part in here. But I really like the way this looked. I really like this sentiment. But I just couldn't decide between this and the congratulations. So I eeny, meeny, mighty mowed it, and congratulations won. So I'm using this handy little glue syringe, which are perfect for these word dies like this. I'll put a link to the shop that I get it at in the description below. It's from the Miss Corin Wiskman. She sells them in her Etsy shop. And then, surprisingly, I didn't lose the little tittle that you see over there on the right hand side. A lot of the times I have no idea where those things go. But you see how awesome this glue syringe is? You can get just the tiniest little dot. I love it. So I'm just going to add it to the back of my die here to finish off this little card here. Get my big head in the way, because it ain't a video of mine if my head's not blocking the screen. And that's it. I thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click on that like button. All the supplies that I used are listed and linked in the description below, and you can always head over to my blog for more information. If you would like to see more videos like this, I'd love for you to click on that subscribe button. And while you're there, click on that little icon, the bell icon, so that you'll be notified when I post a new video, which is usually once a week. And lastly, I would love to hear which card you liked better, either the black and pink one or the purple and gray. And also let me know if you have any suggestions for making a shaker card with this particular die, other than the 4 ways I mentioned. All right, thanks. Bye.